Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Nick Anderson.
What is up, Dynasty Degenerates? This is your host, Nick Anderson, with the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast, or as y'all know it, the Triple D FFP. All right, today we have a knockout fucking challenge for you guys today, okay? As you guys have been paying attention to these brackets, you know who we have. We've got Denzel Mims versus Justin Jefferson on the wide receivers, and at the running backs, we've got Vaughn and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And man, can I not be more excited for this matchup? The closer we get to getting to the finals, to being able to narrow out our 5 through 10 wide receiver and running back rankings pre-draft, the closer the competition is getting, y'all. And I mean, this one was the toughest one yet. Breaking down the film, trying to decide the difference between these skill sets of these elite players has been incredibly difficult, but I got in the trenches for you. I did the digging, I did the research so that you guys can benefit from my knowledge. What little knowledge that is. But so, usually I do a little bit of introduction. Hi, how are you, But we're not going to do that today because I cannot wait to get into this. So let's just start out. We're going to start out with the wide receivers, okay? So the first one that we got up on the chopping block is Justin Jefferson, okay? He is a 21.2-year-old LSU product, okay? He measured in at 6'1", 202 pounds at the combine with 33-inch arms and 9 1/8-inch hands. Okay, when you look at those numbers, I'm actually pretty impressed with that because 33-inch arms, we're going to see later on, Denzel Mims, who's 2 inches taller, only had 7/8 arm longer than his. So, I mean, I'm not mad at that arm span, It's great. It's great for a 6'1" guy. He had a breakout age of 19.6 years old at LSU. And as I like to preface the show, started out with explaining what the breakout age is. But basically, the younger the age, the better for a breakout season in college because it shows that you have that transitional ability from high school ball to the NCAA. That you can rise to the challenge, that you can adapt to a new skill set, a new tier of playing. And so, in theory, if you can make that transition at a young age, you can transition from the NCAA to the NFL with relative ease. And so when you see a sub-20-year-old breakout season, that's great. That's what we look for, okay? And the thing combined with that sub-20 breakout age is that he was doing it at LSU, guys. Now, you know that LSU's got them wide receivers. You know that they're an elite competing club. And so when you see a guy that comes into that kind of competition with that kind of wide receiver set and he's able to perform, it looks even better, okay? So that is a fantastic breakout age year for him. Let's just kind of get everything else out of the way with talking about combine numbers and statistics and everything. At the combine, he ran a 4.43 40-yard dash, okay, which is much faster than I said earlier that I anticipated when watching him on tape. He had a 37.5-inch vertical and 126-inch broad jump, so both really, really good numbers. Justin Jefferson helped to stock out a ton at the 2020 combine, okay? But let's dive back into that 4.43 40. I said previously that, I just didn't see it on tape, but maybe I should have, because if you do get to watch him and you see what he does out there, right here, on his straight line speed, that dude has the jets, okay? If you get him on a straight line, he's gone and you ain't catching him. But the thing that I was noticing that got clouded when I first, saw that 4.43 is that on his routes, he has the ability to be able to run really good, really clean routes. He's got a great route tree, and he can run them all consistently. But the one thing that he has problems with is being consistent in his cuts. When you see, sometimes he can just, drop down and dig into those routes and be able to cut on a dime, and you see his feet moving like pistons. But then there are other times, man, that he gets into it, and he almost makes like one of those dead leg cuts, kind of like DeAndre Swift does intentionally to juke out a defender. But his, I don't think, are intentional. And I think the problem behind that is that I don't think that the dude, it sounds weird, I don't think he knows how to run yet, He's looking like a colt out there just on his wobbly little legs, and he's taking these huge, long strides, with that. I mean, he's got that long, lanky frame at 6'1", 202, and he's taking these huge, long strides that make him great for doing straight line speed. But when it comes to trying to time those cuts and trying to time chopping those feet down, it makes it a little bit more difficult for him. And like I said, he's a great route runner, and he doesn't always fail at that. When he times it right, man, that guy's explosive, and he can cut with the best of them. And you can see right here when he gets into those things and he times it just right and he's got those pistons pumping, he can cut with the best of them. But unfortunately, there are other times, man, that he just does not time it right, and he just hits kind of like a quicksand mode where he just kind of slow and lethargic, and then he busts out of it with that straight line speed. But it's those minute periods, those milliseconds that make the difference. It's a game of inches, as Pacino would say. But I mean, that's one thing that I think he's going to work on. I think it can get coached out of him at the next level, but it's kind of a dig at him right now. He does have the ability, so that's great. We know that we can see on tape that he's got the ability to be able to overcome that, but it's something that he's going to have taught out of him at the next level. So moving on, we look at his 2017 stats. He had nothing to show at 2017 for LSU. Let's move on to 2018. In 2018, he had 54 receptions for 875 yards and 6 touchdowns, and this was his breakout season for LSU, okay? You like to see that as a sophomore. I mean, you see he had nothing his freshman year, but we're not expecting people to have something their freshman year at an elite school like this, But his sophomore year, he comes in, 54 receptions, 875 yards, and 6 touchdowns, playing against elite competition, playing against top-tier D-backs that are going to be NFL players later on in their careers. So that's great to see that as just a sophomore being able to perform that way. And then in 2019, this is when he took off. And I want to preface this by saying everybody took off. We're going to talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire later. He didn't have a great season until 2019 either. Joe Burrow didn't have a great season until 2019 either. Justin Jefferson had a good season, not a great season, then 2019 hits and everybody explodes. So, rising tides lifts all boats. I think that's the expression. But yeah, I mean, I hesitate and wonder if this mass number of yards and touchdowns and receptions that he got is all a product of one of the best LSU systems that we've ever seen, but it's also coupled with seeing this great route running that I was talking about, and we'll talk about his hands later on. So in 2019, he had 111 receptions with 1,540 yards and 18 touchdowns. I mean, just a colossal junior season for him and a real way to kickstart himself into the NFL. Okay, but like I said, we got to kind of take that with a grain of salt, knowing how great this team was and how everybody succeeded, just fucking everybody. But so Justin Jefferson, he's tenacious, man. You see right here, he does not shy away from the big hits. That's one of the things that I love most about this guy is he knows he's going to get walloped on this hit. He knows the minute he catches it, he's going to get the shit smacked out of him, and he goes for it anyway. He doesn't have those concentration drops. He doesn't hear footsteps. I mean, I love this guy in that regard, okay? But, then there's the other thing where he just doesn't have that elite strength to be able to get over that stuff. Now, he does fight at the line, and you can see he can get over the top of it, but he's just a little bit weaker. So while he's nasty, while he's gritty, while he's tough, I don't know if he's strong. That's the thing that might worry me with him a little bit with that 6'1", 202-pound frame. But he takes the hit. He doesn't mind it. So I like that about the guy. That's just something that I think is great when I'm looking at a young wide receiver and seeing him go on to the next level. Now, the one thing we're talking about next level, we're talking about the NFL, something you got to be proficient in, is that Justin Jefferson is a terrible fucking blocker. If there was one huge hole, fuck the quicksand stuff about his feet and all that. If there was one huge hole in his game that I could point out, it's that Justin Jefferson can't block to save his fucking life. And now, the crazy thing is I've seen him do it. He does it on a couple plays where he just gets in there, locks onto his man, and drives him down the field. But 9 times out of 10, he's missing blocks, and he's not missing small blocks. He's missing big blocks. He's letting touchdowns get tackled at the 1-yard line and stopped, It's that kind of shit, and that kind of scares me when I'm looking at a prospect because it tells me that he takes plays off, that he thinks he's not essential and the ball's going to get into the end zone anyway, and because of his error, because of his laziness, it affected everybody. And that's the kind of shit that gets you pulled, especially when you've got all NFL talent around you to compete with at that point. But I digress about that. That's something, a lot of guys have to work on, especially smaller guys. But, We were talking earlier about that 4.43 speed, or yeah, 4.43 speed, and he's got that straight line, man. When he gets on his horse and he gets going, that dude can fucking ride, and it's fantastic to watch. I mean, he has a great catch percentage. When we look at, let me see Justin Jefferson right here. When we look at Jefferson's catch percentage, fuck, I don't know where it's at. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to look at. In 2019, he had a 91% catch rate. And the dude he runs routes well, he takes hits well. He does a lot of things good out there on the field. But the one thing that I love watching with him is that the dude just has sticky fucking hands. He goes up and makes contested catches. He attacks the ball at the point. He high points the ball. All of that stuff. When it comes to pure, just unadulterated hands and strength of hands and aggression towards the ball, Justin Jefferson is the dude. And so, I mean, with a 91% catch rate in his 2019 season, you just cannot dispute that. So, I mean, he's got some cons. Like I said, he can't block very well, or he chooses not to. I don't know which one it is. I don't know which one's fucking worse. But the blocking is a huge liability. His stride, his gait, the way he runs is a problem, and the way that he comes out of his breaks and gets into his breaks, his agility at certain times is a liability. He also lacks strength, but what he does have is he has a diverse route tree. He's able to run every single route on the field, and he does it well when he's timing it right, and I think it's just going to get better at the next level. I think he's going to become one of the better route runners in the NFL by the time this is all said and done. So he excels at that. He does have the aggression to be able to get over a press coverage or something like that. And then on top of that, he has the best hands, man. I'm not saying the best hands out of this class necessarily, but a 91% catch rate, you can't argue with that shit. So he's got some cons, but man, does this dude have pros. And he's coming out of a great system, and he's a young breakout age that says that he's going to be able to transition in the NFL with relative ease, and hopefully his combine mixed with a great fucking junior year coming out into the league is going to project him into the fucking stratosphere and draft capital. And if this guy goes, day one, day two, if he goes to somebody, like I said, a great fit for him is going to be the Vikings. If he goes to the Vikings, holy shit, dude, this guy's going to be a fucking stud. But we got to go look at his competition now, okay? Like I said, this is getting stiffer and stiffer, and we got to go on to my boy, Denzel Mims out of Baylor. He's 22.5 years old, 6'3", 207 pounds. He's got 33 and 7/8 inch arms and 9 and 3/8 inch hands, okay? So he's got this huge, he plays bigger than he is, but his catch radius is just massive. I think it's one of the biggest ones in his draft class amongst his peers. And he just, I mean, his wingspan, the way he plays big and everything is just phenomenal. And then we'll go down to his breakout age. He had a 19.9-year-old breakout age, and that shows again a sub 20 breakout. Just shows that he can excel at the next level. He's adaptable. He can overcome adversity. He's going to be able to adjust to the pressure and the skill set and the speed and the athleticism of the NFL. So let's go on to his combine numbers. Let's look at the metrics a little bit here. He had a 4.3840. And man, he had a 16 rep on the bench, 38.5-inch vertical, at 2 inches taller than Justin Jefferson. He put up another inch on the vertical than him. His broad was 131 inches, and he had a 3-cone of 6.66 seconds. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? That just shows that this guy's got the agility that just cannot be matched. Then we look down to his short shuttle, which is a 4.43. Now, the short shuttle, that's a little bit of an anomaly here because you usually want your short shuttle to be lower than your 40, but everything else is coming up fucking aces for me, so I'm not going to argue with that too much. But, I mean, all of those numbers, all of the speed, all of the explosion, everything that we see right there is just showing absolutely elite athleticism, and you see it reflected in his film, man. He is always getting in the back pocket of those fucking D-backs. He's able to burn these guys. He's stacking them up. And the agility portion, I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, but he is just hyper fucking agile. And accompanied with that is just body control that can't be taught. An innate ability to be able to move your body in ways that you want to that nobody else can do. So let's look at his collegiate numbers. In 2016, He had 4 receptions for 24 yards and 0 touchdowns, a wash freshman season, like we expect, okay? 2017, he had 61 receptions for 1,087 yards and 8 touchdowns, okay? So that's when we're looking at the breakout right there. Just a fucking massive sophomore year at a Baylor college who still sees great competition. And I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see them come in. Sophomore year is the perfect time to see these guys start to pop off. Then we look at his 2018 season. He had a little bit of a dip, 55 receptions for 794 yards and 8 touchdowns. But then in 2019, he came right back with a vengeance with 66 receptions, 1,020 yards, and 12 touchdowns. This dude is a red zone fucking nightmare. And honestly, it's crazy to see. Watching his tape, if you go and watch his tape, it looks like every fucking play is a highlight. So I'm surprised that it's 66 receptions and 1,020 yards. I would have thought it would have been way fucking higher than that. That tells me that Baylor had a lower passing production than you would have anticipated because he was fucking. It seemed like every other play that dude was scoring that they were passing. So I mean that is what it is. But like I said, Denzel Mims is. I'm not going to say that he's the number one wide receiver in this class, but I am going to say that he is my favorite to watch. When you go out there and watch somebody that plays with aggression, that has those intangible skill sets. Now he's not the best route runner in this class. And I want to make that under no uncertain circumstances by saying that. I don't even think that he's necessarily a better route runner than Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson has a more diverse route tree, and certain routes he runs exponentially better than Denzel Mims does. But what Mims has when it comes into route running is he has this innate ability to understand people's body positions and the way people's bodies can and can't move, and has that hand fighting skill that I don't think is taught by coaches. I think it's just an ability to know that you got to swim those hands off you and all of that shit. And accompanied with that comes that 6.66 three cone drill, that kind of agility, the 4.43 short shuttle, the 4.3840, where you see that he has this ability to be able to make a move at the line. And then on top of that agile move, he's got the speed to be able to stack those fucking wide receivers up, and then the race is on, and there ain't nothing that they can do about it. So, I mean, he's a big-bodied, agile wide receiver who has way better routes than you would anticipate. And the small route tree that he has, the routes that he does run, he is fucking phenomenal at. So, I mean, another thing for him is that he has extremely strong hands. He can pluck the ball right out of the air, okay? But with those strong hands, the craziest thing is that Denzel Mims in his senior season had a 12.9% drop rate. Hold on, I know that's a crazy stat, but I gotta take a drink, okay? So just wait 1 second. The number didn't change. It's a 12.9% drop rate, and it's bad, okay? But there are a couple things that I think play into this. I think there are a lot of concentration drops, and those things can be fixed, I mean, Amari Cooper hasn't completely gotten over it, but it's something that you can still be elite and have concentration drops doing. But the other thing that I see with him is that Mims has an affinity for catching the ball into his body. He lets it sink in. He catches in the breadbasket, in the chest, all of those things. And when you catch them in on your body, you don't have the ability to be able to absorb the hit like you do with your hands. That's why being a natural hands catcher is so important when I talk about it on here, because you have that ability to be able to give that shock absorption so the ball doesn't bounce off, the ball doesn't deflect, all of those things. And so like you'll see here, because he catches it in his chest, the ball fucking deflects and it's a drop because it was right there, center mass, but it hit him in the chest and it bounced off. And so, I mean, that just the hands catching, all of that stuff I think plays into his drop rate. And I'm hoping it's something that they can teach at the next level, because it's the craziest fucking thing how this guy makes an absolute circus catch on the sideline. Just does some acrobatic shit and comes down with the ball somehow. But then on a basic crossing route, he lets it into his chest and it bounces off. It's something that you can't. It's frustrating. It's hard to wrap your mind around. And I think that if he could have got that 12.9% drop rate down, we'd be talking about him way higher up here. But that's where he's at, and maybe we should take it as a benefit because it knocked down an elite wide receiver just a couple, like 1-2 spots. So then now he might be attainable. Like I said, he doesn't always attack the ball at the point of catch, but when he does, he's got extremely strong hands that, that you just can't teach. The way that he has the ability to move, the way that he has the ability to be able to grab that with those strong hands. But he's another thing that I was talking about that Justin Jefferson lacked is he is an excellent fucking blocker. And this kind of plays into not so much. I mean, it is blocking. Like blocking is important, and he does it exceptionally. But it shows me mentality. He doesn't take plays off. This dude's a fucking pit bull out there, running people like you can see right here into the fucking sideline because he doesn't want to give up that block. And that tells me that this dude is going to be able to overcome adversity at the next level. When shit goes wrong in a clubhouse or something like that, and people are bitching back and forth at each other, like I talked about, when people are sending out tweets and being prima donnas, that's the kind of mentality that tells me that that guy's not going to be that kind of a problem. And I love that in my players. So, I mean, all cards on the table. Denzel Mims versus Justin Jefferson. You got the diverse route tree with the LSU pedigree, the young breakout age with a 91% catch rate versus Denzel Mims, who's just a natural fucking athlete, with some stuff that you just can't teach. Got a young breakout age too, and he's just showing you stuff out there, the agility, the speed, everything, the innate, unlearned things. I got to give it to Denzel Mims. And honestly, when you watch him, I don't know if it's, on what day they got up against what corner, but when you watch the two of these side by side, because I watched Justin Jefferson, I said on the last episode that I was thinking about putting him over T. Higgins. But dude, when I compare him to Denzel Mims, when I watch them side by side, dude, Denzel Mims just kind of takes it away. Just gets on his horse and rides, man. But, I mean, Denzel Mims going on to the winner's bracket. He's going on to the finals, okay? And Justin Jefferson, unfortunately, is going to be going down the loser's bracket. But, like I said before, I don't think that's going to be a long-lived down on the loser's bracket tenure. So that's what we got right there. Like I said, man, tight competition. It's tough. It's stiff. So moving on, though. We're going on to the running backs in the bracket challenge. So we're going to be going on to Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Keyshawn Vaughn. And you know what? I can't wait. I'm going to get into my boy Keyshawn Vaughn. Let's just dive right into him, okay? So he's 29.9 years old. It's old. That's damn old. That's one major knock on him just right off the gate, is that I think that he's only 7 or 8 months younger than Christian McCaffrey, who already has 3 seasons in the NFL. So, I mean, that's an immediate knock on him, but he comes out of Vanderbilt. He's 5'10", 214 pounds. At the combine, he measured in with 30 and 7/8 inch arms and 8 and 7/8 inch hands, okay? A little bit smaller hands than I would like, but we've never seen any fumble problems out of Keyshawn Vaughn. So it's nothing that we need to be worried about. He must just have them strong-ass small hands, He had an 18.3-year-old breakout season when he was playing in Illinois, okay? So let's just kind of we'll get through the combine numbers first. So Keyshawn Vaughn ran a 4.51 40 at the combine. He had a 32-inch vertical with a 117-inch broad jump. That 4.51 though, as I've described before, he's got that game speed that the 4.51 doesn't indicate. It's already a good number. It's already a just fine number that we're seeing from comparable players out there. Like I think I said, Dalvin Cook ran just a tenth or 2/10 of a second lower than that, and he's out there just fucking murking folks out there. But Keyshawn Vaughn with that 4.51, he puts it into game speed way fucking better than you would think from those numbers at the combine. And so we look over to the 18.3-year-old breakout age, and we've got his 2015 stats from Illinois, where he had 157 carries, 723 yards, 6 touchdowns, 16 receptions, 119 yards, and 0 touchdowns, okay? So as a freshman coming into a D1 program, being able to produce like that is just fucking astronomical. He was also Mr. Tennessee back in his hometown, the best running back coming out of the state that year. And so, I mean, this guy played elite in high school. He transitioned immediately into college, D1, and was fucking elite. And then, unfortunately, we see in 2016, he had a major, major dip. But this also coincides, like I told you guys before, with Lovie Smith coming into the program. They had a little bit of tension, a little bit of controversy, and he got bumped all the way down to the third option in their running game. And he had 60 carries for 301 yards and 3 touchdowns, accompanied by 9 receptions for 89 yards and 0 touchdowns. And at that point, that's when Keyshawn Vaughn made a boss-ass move, and he decided to invest in himself. He went back to his home state to play for Vanderbilt, and unfortunately had to sit a year of eligibility, and that's why we see that progressed age on him, because he had to sit out the 2017 season. And it sucks, but it also shows me that he has the ability to invest in himself, that he believes in himself. Okay? And that's something that I value in a player, knowing your worth. Now, like I was talking about earlier, I don't want them tweeting and bitching and all that shit about not getting carries and everything. But if you know that you're not fit for the system that you're in and you believe that you're worth more, then go get your shit. And so he went to Vanderbilt, and the first year that he came back was 2018, and man, did he prove some fuckers wrong. He ran 157 carries for 1,240 yards on 12 touchdowns with 13 receptions, 170 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns in the receiving game. Okay, and then he followed it up with a little bit of a depressed, but still a great senior season with 198 carries on 1,028 yards and 9 touchdowns, accompanied by 28 receptions for 270 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Okay, so at Vanderbilt, he really got to showcase what he was about. When you watch Keyshawn Vaughn, he is just so complete. Everything that he does. He has truck stick capability, as you guys can see right here. You know, he has agility. He's got the ability to be able to juke people out of their fucking shoes. And the best thing that I like about watching him is that we're gonna watch Clyde Edwards-Helaire here in a bit, and he does these big looping spin moves and all of this back and forth, cuts, and it's great and it looks beautiful and it works a lot. But Keyshawn Vaughn seems to be able to do that with 1/8 the movement. He has this economy of motion. He simplifies everything, but still gets maximum results out of it. And so he's just so elusive for the little amount that he does. Then you accompany that with the straight line speed that he has, where he's just burning folks once he gets out in the open. And I think that he was a track star back in high school too, and that kind of shows when you're looking at the kind of straight line speed that he's pumping out there. It's super fucking impressive, and I'm telling you, that's faster than a 4.51. Just saying that right now, that's faster than a 4.51. But so, I mean, like I said, he's got the truck stick capability, the agility, he's got the straight line speed, he's a great blocker, and then on top of that, he has underappreciated hands, okay? In his senior season, he had 28 receptions for 270 yards and 1 touchdown. But if you go back and look, the thing that I found was just crazy is that you think about somebody who just has natural hands, just sure hands, and they didn't develop into it, they weren't taught it, they just have the ability to catch. And a fucking freshman coming into a Division I program, catching 16 receptions for 119 yards, not only shows me that he has natural hands, but that he's got the ability to be able to work with the ball in his hand. Keyshawn Vaughn, once that ball is in his hand, he makes impressive ass moves and makes something out of nothing, especially because of the fact that Vanderbilt just had a dog shit offensive line his entire tenure there. But the one problem that I see, aside from Keyshawn Vaughn's daunting old age, is that because his line was so subpar at Vanderbilt, he has a tendency to try and get to the edge, to try and improvise, to make something out of nothing, when all he has to do is follow his blocks into a clearly defined hole. He gets just a little skittish back there because he's used to being contacted behind the line of scrimmage. And so because he's used to that, he tries to preemptively prevent it. And so by doing that, he often makes moves and he's got great patience, great vision, but sometimes he just gets a little squirrely back there. But I mean, aside from that, the guy is just he's locked and loaded as my most enjoyable running back to watch in this draft. Because his vision, his truck stick ability, his elusiveness, the patience he shows behind the line, all of that stuff just to me seem like they're going to translate at the next level. And it reminds me the most of a Kareem Hunt. That's somebody that he reminds me a lot of, is a Kareem Hunt. He's got that. That's the other thing that I haven't talked about yet with him. There's so many things, so many fucking things. But when you watch him, he just does not go down on first contact. It's not just a truck stick ability. It's the fact that when he's contacted, he just doesn't go down. He does that thing where he puts his hand on the ground and re-supports himself and gets going, and it reminds me so much of the way that Kareem Hunt used to play when he was in Kansas City. And that's why I think that KC would be a great fit for him. If he gets a third round draft capital and goes to Kansas City, dude, I'd be taking him. I'd be if he gets picked by Kansas City, and this is all landing spot dependent, but right now, as everybody is, and then we know that Keyshawn Vaughn got drafted by Kansas City, he'd be right below Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift in my rankings. Just no questions asked. You know, he's just I think that he's got that much to bring to a team, and I think that he would fit with Kansas City that well. But I'm a little bit biased, so whatever. But let's not get ahead of ourselves now, because we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as his competitor. Like I said, coming from this just fucking phenomenal LSU pedigree at 21 years old, so almost 2 years younger than Keyshawn Vaughn. Okay, he's 5'7", 207 pounds. The dude is compact, and he's just man he's fucking spins. Just you can't go watch a game of Clyde Edwards-Helaire without watching him like fucking spin 17 people out of their shoes. But let's look into his metrics here. He has 29-inch arms, 9 and 5/8 inch hands, which are huge ass hands for his size. So good for you, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But man, he's got these. I don't think that he's ever had any fucking fumbling problems either. And then we look at the combine. And this is where things start to get a little bit weird for me, because you think of these elusive backs, these scat backs, the ones that are cutting all over the place, and you think that they're going to run a great 40, but he only ran a 4.46 40. But, again, I think that his game speed is different than his underwear Olympic speed. So it's not something that I'm particularly worried about, because his agility is so drastic that what he makes up, or that what he lacks in straight line speed, he makes up for in agility. For some reason, we didn't get a short shuttle or a three-cone drill out of him, which sucks, but we did get a vertical. We got a 15 on the bench, 39.5-inch vertical, which is just great for a guy his size, and then a 123-inch broad jump. So that kind of confirms the power, that comes with the agility that I was talking about. But let's look at his LSU. Let's look at his LSU stat line. In 2017, he had 9 carries for 31 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 receptions, 46 yards, and 0 touchdowns. So, as to be expected, a freshman season, especially at a competitive organization like LSU, he's not getting any action. Then we look at 2018, where he had his breakout season, okay? He had 146 carries with 658 yards and 7 touchdowns, accompanied by 11 receptions and 96 yards, okay? So, coming in your sophomore season, being able to put up those kind of numbers against elite defenses at a very competitive organization is something that I love to see. Then we look at his 2019 stats, and this is where I said that rising tides lift all boats. He had 215 carries for 1,414 yards, 16 touchdowns, accompanied by 55 receptions, 453 receiving yards, and a touchdown. I mean, those numbers are just fucking bonkers. He about put up fucking 2,000 all-purpose yards in his junior collegiate career outing, his last collegiate outing. And like I said, I don't know if it's a product of being a part of one of the best college teams that we've ever seen play in the NCAA, or if it was just this perfect fucking storm of a great elusive running back that has pass catching ability with 2 elite wide receivers, Thaddeus Moss out at tight end and Joe Burrow at quarterback, if everybody just made everybody better and they're all fantastic. But I don't know. But I just know that none of them did that fucking well until this 2019 season. So that scares me a little bit. But when you watch Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the one thing that you can't take away from him is his fucking agility, man. I'm going to start calling this dude Beyblade. He's a fucking top spinning out there. I mean, every time that he's confronted, he's either got a jump cut for somebody or he's got a spin move that he's going to put on you so fucking hard you're going to think you were in Twister. I mean, it is fucking nuts to watch this dude putting jukes on people out there. And I have a limited sample size of stuff here to show you, but it's just because there's like 2 compared to the 60 that I can show you of where this guy's fucking spinning people out of their shoes. And so, he's just phenomenal at his elusiveness. He has really good vision. So, that's something that comes into play, and his vision is accompanied with this elusiveness, because he's not just putting one jump cut on somebody. He's putting a jump cut on somebody, then a spin move on the next, and all that shit. And it's his ability to be able to string things together down the field and just come one right after the other that make him the player that he is. And that vision is second to none, you know. And it's kind of the elusiveness reminds me of like a Devontae Freeman with the pass catching ability, and then the aggression. The thing that I haven't talked about is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire plays like he's got a chip on his shoulder. You know, he's this small guy. He's 5'7", 207 pounds. But this dude is a fucking wrecking ball, and he just plows into people. Now, it's not to say that he's got elite truck stick ability, because he doesn't. Because he's not that strong. He's not going to run folks over. But son of a bitch if he isn't the angriest kid at the fucking playground. Because he is just plowing into dudes out there on the field with reckless abandonment. Like I said earlier, nothing that he does reminds me of Adrian Peterson, but the level of aggression and the way he just wants to tag you every time he gets the ball, that chip on his shoulder, that kind of shit reminds me of AP. And if you can accompany that with some other elite skill sets, that's something that I'm interested in, okay? So we've talked about his elusiveness. We've talked about his aggression. He has great hands, too. You can see that he had 55 receptions for 453 receiving yards and a touchdown his junior outing. And that is just phenomenal. I mean, he's one of those guys like I talked about. He's got that Duke Johnson skill set where I don't think that he's like Duke Johnson, but he can go out in the slot. He's got the most diverse route tree of all of the running backs in this class, bar none. Okay, I mean, he's got the most experience, the best ability to be able to do it out of everybody. And his hands are just fantastic. He's a natural hands catcher who just has an ability to be able to string pieces together after the catch. And so, I mean, what does he lack? You know, we're talking about all the pros. What is he not good at? Well, I mean, I don't think that he necessarily has the patience that he needs to. So that's something that I think that he could work on a little bit is his patience behind the line. He's always trying to, because he is a smaller guy, because he doesn't have the power, he doesn't go up in those holes, you know, wait for a hole to open up. He tries to make something out of nothing. And he's doing spin moves when he doesn't fucking need to be doing spin moves. But he succeeds on a lot of it. I mean, he lacks power. He's never going to be a between the tackles back in the NFL. He's not going to command a 20 to 25 carry workload in the NFL. He's going to be relegated probably to passing downs, a la James White, you know. But I do think that he's got a little bit more in the tank than that. I'm not going to say that they're the same player, but I mean like an Austin Eckler. If the stars fall perfectly and he gets the chance to shine, and he's got the right team around him and the right offensive line in front of him, and he can put up some years like Austin Eckler has in the last two, then maybe he gets his chance. But I mean, it's going to be the 99% to the 1% that he's going to be relegated to the passing game. So, I mean, great pass catcher, great elusiveness, great vision, lacks patience, lacks power, lacks between the tackles, running, and all that stuff. I mean, who are you going to choose here? I got to choose the more complete running back. I got to choose Keyshawn Vaughn. I think that the dude has great hands like Clyde Edwards-Helaire does. Not as good at hands, but he's still elite on the hands. He can run in between the tackles. He's still elusive. He's got that truck stick capability that Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't have, you know. But the one thing that I'm going to preface this with, or do a caveat with on this that I haven't done in episodes past, is Keyshawn Vaughn's moving forward, okay? But if this were a PPR show that we were doing, which it is not, it is a half point. But if this was full point PPR, Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be going on to the next round. Because I think that his receiving chops are that fucking elite that you just can't argue with them, okay? But for now, because it's half point and we're doing it that way, because that's the way all the leagues that I do are in, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going down to the loser's bracket. Sorry, buddy, I don't see you staying down there too long. But Keyshawn Vaughn is going up to the winner's bracket and moving on to the finals, okay? Man, this one was a fun one to watch. It was a fun one to review. I love getting to break down these elite talents and be able to. I'm upset that I didn't start doing this a long time ago because I'd love to be able to have the database of knowledge to be able to compare the previous year's college players to these guys. Because I mean, sometimes I watch them and I'm just so in awe with the elusiveness of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the complete nature of Keyshawn Vaughn's game, you know, the body control and the just natural athleticism of Denzel Mims and the hands of Justin Jefferson. I mean, getting to watch all of these guys is just an absolute fucking pleasure, and I just can't wait for years to come where I can compare them to the incoming classes and know what they look like and what they stack up as. But I mean, This is what I got for you guys. I hope that you like it. I hope that it's informative. If there's something that you guys want me to add on, if there's a stat line or something that you guys want me to research for you, or something that you're outside watching and you've done this before and you think that there's something that I need to add to the podcast, let me know, because I want to make this podcast as good as I can for you guys, because I'm absolutely loving diving into these players, And thank you for being patient with me. I had a little bit of computer problems. I'm not having computer problems like the NFL GMs are right now, because I actually figured my shit out instead of just bitching about it. But I had some computer problems and I got it back on track. I'm recording the podcast for you. So I'm going to have one come out on Sunday, and we're going to have one come out Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, and then Wednesday again right before the draft, so that we're finishing up this bracket challenge the day before the draft. So it's kind of be like this anticipation of where's everybody going to go. So we got our pre-draft rankings locked in right before draft day, okay? So thank you guys for watching. I hope you like what I have to say. I hope you like the takes that I got. If you don't, what the fuck am I going to do? And probably don't listen to me because I'm drunk.